Good afternoon, and let's talk about another wave of disinformation by the aggressor state, which uses information weapons either to mislead its own citizens or to misinform the world community. Let's start with the statement of the Russian Ministry of Defense, which has stated a completely fake figure about the losses of the Ukrainian military during the counteroffensive. The losses of the Ukrainian armed forces since the beginning of the so-called offensive in June and July amounted to more than 40,000 servicemen, the Russian Defense Ministry said. This information is fake with the sole purpose of misinforming the world community and thus reducing support for Ukraine in its resistance to Russian aggression. Moving on, we come across a statement by the former president of Russia and now the second person in the political table of ranks in Russia, Dmitry Medvediev, who is once again blackmailing the world with the nuclear weapon. It seems that his recent statements are difficult to explain by anything other than the influence of either psychotropic or potent alcoholic substances. But the fact remains. These statements were made by a high-ranking official of the aggressor state. He says, "Our, that is, the Russian armed forces, are repelling the enemy's counteroffensive and defending our land. First of all, there is no their land here. These are occupied Ukrainian territories, and there will certainly be punishment for these crimes. Further, if you imagine that the offensive of the Ukrobanderovit, a term they invented to somehow explain their own failure, with the support of NATO, if some offensive succeeded and they took away part of our land, although there is not our land there, and there is Ukrainian occupied land, we would have to resort to the use of nuclear weapons. This horror story is once again being taken up by Russian state military or political leaders with the same goal as before, to intimidate the international community, and of course these statements no longer seem to have any impact, but they continue to manipulate this in the crisis of their genre. We go further and come across a statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia spokeswoman Zakharova, who came to claim absolutely seriously that Ukrainians want Putin to be their president. Well, of course, this is a lie, and it is not only a lie that's made up, but it's not even based on any sociological science. For example, according to polls that were conducted in Ukraine last year, I think this is the last time this question was even asked, it is not relevant at all. The vast majority of respondents have an absolutely negative attitude towards Putin, 98% of Ukrainian citizens. It is even somehow indecent to refute this nonsense. This is a Spanish shame for Maria Zakharova herself. In fact, Zakharova also said that America is sponsoring terrorist attacks by the Ukrainian government, although the terrorist state in this conflict is Russia, which is killing civilians without regard for the victims in order to occupy Ukrainian territories. In the Telegram channel Zapiski Veterana, one of those who maintain this war, we again come across an explanation of Russia's failures. They blame it all on foreign intelligence services. Throughout the day, arson attacks on military enlistment officers have been taking place in different regions of Russia. These actions were planned by foreign special services, claims the Telegram channel. Of course, this is a lie, because these military enlistment officers were set on fire by Russian citizens, and no military or other special services on the territory of Russia could have caused such large-scale protests as they have been taking place in recent days in Russia, where military enlistment offices are indeed burning down. An absolute fake, which is not even based on any material evidence, was posted on the Putin in Telegram channel, where a fake illustration was published which looks like an announcement in Poland, where the ruling party of Poland is spreading information addressed to Ukrainians that Ukraine will have to give them Lviv. Once again, we have this fake about Poland's alleged intentions to annex part of Ukrainian territory. This fake has only one simple explanation: to justify the annexation and occupation carried out by Russia on the territory of Ukraine, showing that not only are we the aggressor, but Poland has such intentions. Although this is an absolute nonsense. Also, we see how religious leaders on the territory of Russia are completely singing in unison with military and political leaders. For example, the Russian Orthodox radio Radanezh calls for the killing of Ukrainian civilians using the heavy flamethrower system Solntsepek. And this once again confirms that in Russia, the Moscow Church and the army are one common institution that serves the whims of the dictator here.
Інститутом, який обслуговує примхи тамошнього диктатора.
A fake is an announcement allegedly published in one of the American universities, published by the Zergulio Telegram channel, which calls for joining the so-called International Legion of Ukraine, and allegedly by joining, students in America can get rid of their tuition debts. If you look at the phone number listed, this phone number has appeared in fake Russian messages before as the phone number of the Ukrainian embassy in Washington, D.C., although they never had this number. And unfortunately, we have to admit that some of the information of the propaganda special operation that was launched from the territory of the aggressor state is now being voiced by some Ukrainian figures, including former MPs. This fake is about the alleged trip of the head of the office of the President of Ukraine to Hungary, allegedly to reach some shadowy agreements, and these trips are allegedly somehow approved by the Russian special services. This is a complete and utter nonsense. There were no visits. All the information about the business trips of the presidential office leadership is available on official sources. And this fake news was made by one of the former employees of the Soviet and Russian special services, who calls himself Putin's groupmate. So, do not trust these fake sources, trust only Ukrainian media. If you live abroad, watch the Russian language Freedom TV channel or the English language UATV channel, as well as the Teleson, and trust the Ukrainian political and military leadership. See you.